Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kamika Love from thebudgetmom.com, and today we are doing another real life budget. Now, for the sake of privacy, we did change the names of these community members. So we're using the names Lauryn and Bree. Now, Lauryn and Bree, they live in Pennsylvania. And when I was working through their numbers and their information, it became very clear that this was a case of eliminating debt as fast as we can. And the reason that I say that is because they're finding it really hard to take care of other financial priorities, and they are depending on a bonus that one of them gets at work in order to sustain their lifestyle and their financial obligations going into the future. So they're getting a bonus every quarter, and they're using that to live on. Where I want to get in a position where they can use that bonus to apply to financial goals outside of just the necessities. So things like paying off debt. They have a couple of savings goals that we weren't able to even get to with the Budget by Paycheck worksheets that I implemented for this video. So today I'm going to be showing you Lauryn and Bree's information for this real life budget. So a little more backstory on Bree and Lauryn. Like I said, they both live in Pennsylvania. Their why is their son. They have a 3-year-old son. They want to be able to buy their dream home and to provide a life for our son where we are debt-free and prepared for our future. So here's a little more backstory. So Bree is 26 years old. She has her wife. The name we're using for her wife is Lauryn, and they've been together for 9 years. They have their 3-year-old son. She is a nurse and a part-time student, and her wife is a manager. So they make decent money for their age, but they doesn't feel like it because of the amount of debt they have. Bree graduates school in May, so her income will increase after that. It says here that she has had credit card debt since she turned 18. She was never taught how to properly use them and have always carried a balance each month. I got a personal loan to consolidate the debt, but went on to use them again, not once, but twice. Now she has 2 personal loans and many credit card payments. Not all of our credit card debt is mine, but most of it is. So she has bipolar 2 disorder and can own that I have an issue, and she can own that she has an issue with spending. I have learned my triggers for spending, but now we are left with the aftermath. My wife receives large bonuses every quarter, and we depend heavily on them. We have never used sinking funds because anytime a large expense is coming up, we cash flow out of her bonus. With her bonus and income tax coming up, we want to be smart about the next few months and make the right moves. We save money for our emergency fund, then run into an issue and must spend it. We want to learn how to save and pay off debt at the same time. So that's a little bit of her backstory and her why. It seems like her why is her son and the future and lifestyle that they want to live with him and experience with him. Let's take a look at their income. So right now they make about $9,100. It looks like Lauryn is paid weekly. Bree is getting paid every other week or bi-weekly. Now the reason that you see pink here was me writing down their worst case scenario, because in January they got their quarterly bonus. Lauryn got some holiday pay. And so I wanted to see, okay, outside of what they truly received in January, what was their worst case scenario or the least amount they expect to receive? For Lauryn, that's $732 a week. For Bree, that's $1,400 a week if we're not including that quarterly bonus that Bree is going to get. So really, we're not $9,100, we're at $5,728 for their worst case scenario when it comes to their income. Let's take a look at their bills and fixed expenses. So with this list, there's a lot going on. And the reason this is such a longer list is because a lot of it is minimum payments towards their debt, which we're gonna look at here in a minute. If it has pink, it's me eliminating those expenses from their fixed expenses. We need to rein in our spending a little bit to take care of some of these high interest, smaller balanced debt, so we don't have so much financial obligation when it comes to fixed expenses, meaning we're gonna shrink this list down a little bit. but they have rent and water. They have, and it's a little bit confusing because they have certain debts twice. So they have two Credit One credit cards. They have a Credit One number 1 and a Credit One number 2. They also have an Upgrade number 2 and an Upgrade number 1, which are personal loans that they got to consolidate their debt. But then they also have an Upgrade credit card. We made sure to label it 1 and 2 if we're talking about a debt with the same name, but it's actually two separate things. So we're getting rid of that cloud storage. We're knocking out Spotify, YouTube Premium, Discovery Plus, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. Even doing that, that's about $50 that we have eliminated from their fixed expenses, which isn't enough. But unfortunately, because of the minimum payments with their debt, I couldn't really cut any more from their fixed expenses. They do have their renter's insurance, like their electric. I did keep Netflix in there for them as their only streaming service and entertainment service. When we get to the debt, you'll also see they have a lot of retail credit cards, but this is their bills and fixed expenses. Down here at the bottom, I'm just going to show you, it's a total of 5,112. And that wasn't including, when we totaled that, daycare is actually not $191 per month, but it's $190 a week. So what I did is, with the amounts that I eliminated, their total monthly fixed expenses is $5,630. And if we bring their income, I always like to do this, are you in the green or are you in the red? We're dealing with a worst case scenario income of $5,728 and their fixed expenses is $5,630. We can take care of fixed expenses, but that doesn't take care of real life like variable spending. So let's take a look at their variable spending. So this is the variable spending that they gave me. So they have grocery, they have money for Lauryn, money for Bree, money for their child Caden, health, miscellaneous, gas for Lauryn, and gas for Bree. Now, gas is something that we absolutely can't change because both of them drive more than 50 minutes to work every single day, there and back. It's a lot of driving every day to get to and from work. Now, Lauryn has a slightly better car when it comes to gas mileage, but Bree, on the other hand, is filling up 4 to 5 times a week. That is something that I do recommend that they look into, because they do also have quite a large car payment on both of their vehicles. One, I believe, is a Nissan Rogue, and the other one's a Chevy Equinox. So I think that they need to look at getting more economical cars for their driving, since they're driving such large distances, and to possibly decrease the amount they're making for their car payments. But as of right now, because that's what we're dealing with right now, their variable spending equals $1,500. If I made suggestions, okay, until we can eliminate a lot of this higher interest small balance credit card debt, we're gonna get rid of personal spending. And I know that seems very restrictive, but it's temporary and it's a necessity and it's something that we need to do so we can cut out a lot of those minimum debt payments from our fixed expense list. So I cut out and got the new total down to 1,180 from 1,500. And you can see they made that note here. Both travel about 50 minutes to work. I only have to do it 1 to 3 times a week, but Bree has to do it 5 times a week. Moving is not an option right now. Moving may not be an option, but looking into some different vehicle or vehicle options is. So I would definitely recommend that. Here is their debt picture. And you can see that, like, they have 2 Credit Ones, they have an Upgrade credit card, but they also have loans from Upgrade 1 and 2. This is when they went through their debt consolidation. They owe quite hefty values and balances on their cars, high interest rate on those car loans, big monthly payments. Also, I noticed a lot of their credit card are detrimental because they are retail credit cards, which tend to have the most severe interest rates. Walmart 22.9, Amazon credit card 22.4, Quicksilver credit card 22.9. These debts are not including their student loans. She's still in college, so those aren't due, but guess what? Come May, they will be, or maybe about 30 days after she graduates. So that's definitely something that they're going to have to eliminate some of this debt to prepare themselves for that payment that's going to be coming due sometime in 2022. I would say about halfway through 2022. They also have an Apple debt, $1,800 for 21.9. Their biggest, this is what really got me, their biggest debt is this upgrade credit card. Now, they went through a debt consolidation. I don't know if Upgrade is the company. I've never heard of it before, but if it is, shame on them. Shame on them. They took clients that came to them for debt consolidation and then gave them a credit card with 29% interest. Predatory. Absolutely ridiculous. So they handed out these personal loans not once but twice and then threw a credit card at them and said, hey, here you go, knowing that they had issues with credit card debt in the begin with. Anyways, so this is what we're looking at for their debt. I did want to bring in their savings goals, even though we aren't able to reach these in today's videos, because I'm glad that they do have a $1,000 emergency fund. However, though, they do want a down payment for a house for $30,000. They have some sinking funds with goals. They have birthdays, car maintenance, Christmas, graduation, Mint Mobile. I'm not sure what that is. It looks like they need a yearly amount of $180. They currently have $0 saved. They need to have that by June of 2022, which gives us 5 months to save, which is about $36 a month. I don't know if that's a necessity, but it is not included in today's video. And I would only include these types of savings goals once we have hit some relief when it comes to our debt payoff. Now, we're going to look at the budget calendar. So this is our budget calendar. Now, it's a little bit confusing this time because they only get their bonus every quarter. So they're gonna get it in January, in April, in July, and in November. So they're getting it in January, but keep in mind, they depend on this $4,400 bonus to live on until they get the next bonus. So you're gonna see we're setting aside money for February and March for them to have for living necessities and expenses and obligations going into February and March, and then they'll get it again in April and start that process over. We also assumed, okay, they are not getting paid until the 6th and 7th, which, by the way, we are holding Lauryn's pay, and we're gonna budget on when Bree gets paid here. And then we're gonna budget here, here, and here. So they're doing 4 budgets. They're budgeting weekly here. Same when Bree gets paid, we're holding Lauryn's paycheck aside. We're gonna budget on the 21st. We also assume that these payments, because they're not getting paid again till here, have been paid with December's income. If we look at this using a paycheck budget, so our first budget's gonna happen on January 7th. We have Lauryn's pay of $812, Bree's pay of $1,400, gives us $2,212. We're taking care of everything in pink. So we wrote down our fixed expenses. And then what we decided to do is to cover all of their variable spending with that first budget of the month. So they have all of their variable spending all ready to go for the entire month. We are going to put any left over to our first debt priority. Now I ordered their debts here. You can see in pink in order of priority, and I went off based off the highest interest rate first. Now, if they had, for instance, like credit 1, they have 2 of them, the interest is both 23.9. The first priority in a situation like that is I tackle the lowest balance between those 2. Eliminate it as fast as we can, and then on to the next one. So in this budget, we're putting $64 towards our first priority debt, which is a 29.49, almost a 30% interest on their upgrade credit card to eliminate that. Next, we're gonna be doing a budget for right here on the 13th. We're using Lauryn's pay of $882. We're taking care of everything in the blue. So all of those things in the blue, we took care of their variable spending and we only have $17 left over to put towards that first priority debt. Now, if we go to their third paycheck of the month on 1/27, we're gonna be paying all these things in orange, which we have here listed on their fixed expenses. We are also going to take care of some variable spending for them in February. So we're taking care of groceries, miscellaneous, and Lauryn's gas, and some of Lauryn's gas. We're doing that because we're gearing up to be prepared for not having that bonus that we're receiving in January. Remember, we won't have it again until April. So we're using this last paycheck in January to cover some of variable expenses for February, which is why I have it in parentheses right here. So that is Lauryn and Bree's information using the budget by paycheck method. Now, I think after showing you this, it became very clear that eliminating a lot of those smaller, high interest debt is going to help them not only reach other financial goals, but take care of some financial obligations they have now, especially since I did end up cutting out a lot of their personal variable spending for themselves, just to make sure that we were able to use the income they have right now at this time going forward in the months that they're not receiving that bonus. Also, one of the things I wanted to mention, and I kind of went through this situation a little bit very, very early on in my journey, is that anytime you are tackling debt and you want to tackle your debt using like a balance transfer or debt consolidation, or any type of debt payoff journey, it's important not to accumulate new debt while we are paying off debt. And I say that because paying off debt isn't just about eliminating the debt. It's about learning to manage your money and to understand your spending and your spending triggers and your relationship with money. It's about discovering yourself so you don't go back into debt in the future. Because what's going to happen is you're going to use like a zero balance credit card, APR introductory credit card, or you're going to use debt consolidation. And you're going to say to yourself, oh, I have all this free credit that I'm not using. And if you haven't learned to properly manage your money, then you're going to end up using even more debt and digging yourself in a deeper hole. So one of the biggest rules when paying off debt is not to accumulate new debt as you go along, or we end up in a situation like this where it's very hard to make significant progress until we get to a point where we eliminate a lot of that high interest debt up front. So it's going to take them a little while, but it's completely doable with the income that they do have. Now, I do recommend the changes that I suggested here that I showed you, cutting out that, making that sacrifice and deciding that that trade-off is really important to decrease their spending. And to not only decrease their spending, but also to look at ways to increase their income, because any way to make significant progress, the progress I know they're looking for, they're gonna need some additional help in the beginning of this journey to eliminate some of that high interest, smaller debt on their debt list, especially since they're dealing with 15 individual debts, which wasn't far off from my story. I started off with a lot of individual debts. My debt list was very large. And so I started with the snowball method first, paying off the debt with the smallest balances first, just so I could eliminate a lot of that anxiety and stress around how many accounts I had, not necessarily the overall value, but the amount of accounts I had. So that is another real life budget. If you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe. I just realized I was looking at that, not the camera, but the screen thingy that's above the camera. I'm wondering if I should redo all of this. They're spending. Testing. Okay.